Commander, the human hasn't eaten in 7 hours and he's still working. Zilax's secondary heart skipped in unison as he stared at the junior officer standing in his doorway. What did you just say? The human, sir. James Taylor. He missed the morning meal cycle completely, and now he's 3 hours past midday feeding. Kyle Thas's voice cracked with barely contained panic, his crest flattening against his skull in distress. According to YouTube analytics, 99.3% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. We've been monitoring him. He's not showing any signs of seeking sustenance. He's just continuing his repair work on Junction 7 like nothing's wrong. 7 hours? Zilax felt his blood chill. 7 hours without food for most species on the station meant impaired cognitive function at minimum, system shutdown at worst. For Kyle Thas's own species, 8 hours without nutrition meant death. Has anyone notified medical? Vexia is gathering emergency rations right now, sir. We didn't want to wait for official protocols. By the time medical response teams mobilize, he could... The young officer's voice broke. We can't let him die, Commander. Zilax was already moving, his comm device active. Medical emergency, Junction 7. Possible critical malnutrition event, human crew member. He turned back to Kyle Thas. Show me. They found James Taylor exactly where Kyle Thas reported, elbow deep in an access panel, humming something tuneless as he rerouted power couplings. He looked completely normal, alert, focused. His movements were steady and precise. Impossible. James, Zilax called out, trying to keep the alarm from his voice. The human glanced over his shoulder, a smear of grease across one cheek. Hey, Commander. Almost done here. The secondary power grid was cycling weird, but I think I found the... He paused, finally noticing the growing crowd of junior officers behind Zilax, many of them clutching food containers. What's going on? James, when did you last eat? Zilax asked carefully, the way one might address someone suffering from delirium. Eat? James blinked, then shrugged. I don't know. Dinner last night? Been busy this morning. Why? A collective gasp rippled through the assembled cubs. Vexia pushed forward, her medical scanner already active and trained on the human. 16 hours, she whispered, her eyes wide with horror. He hasn't consumed nutrition in 16 hours. Yeah, I skipped breakfast, James said, wiping his hands on his coveralls. Had that emergency call at 500 and I just never got around to. He stopped, finally registering the expressions surrounding him. Why does everyone look like someone died? James, you should be dying, Kyle Thas blurted out, stepping forward with his own meal ration extended like an offering. Please, take this. Take all of it. We brought extra. What? James stared at the pressed nutrition bar being thrust at him. Vexia's scanner beeped frantically. She looked at the readings, then at James, then back at her scanner. Commander, his vitals are... they're normal. Better than normal. Blood chemistry optimal, energy levels stable, cognitive function... She shook her head slowly. This doesn't make sense. According to these readings, he's not in distress at all. Of course I'm not in distress, James said, his voice climbing toward bemused confusion. I'm just a little hungry. I was going to grab lunch after I finished this panel. A little hungry? Vexia's voice pitched upward. You've exceeded critical nutritional intervals by a factor of 2. Your species should be experiencing system failure. James looked around at the circle of concerned alien faces, all of them staring at him with the kind of intensity usually reserved for natural disasters. Okay, I feel like I'm missing something really important here. Azila arrived at a run, her medical kit bouncing against her side, senior staff credentials flashing on her uniform. She took one look at the crowd of junior officers surrounding James and immediately began barking orders. Clear space. I need a perimeter for examination. Someone get me a full metabolic scanner and... She stopped mid-sentence as she got her first clear look at the human. He's standing upright. Yeah, James said, raising his hands in a gesture of confused surrender. I mean, I usually do that when I'm working. Should I not be? 16 hours without food, Azila said slowly, circling him like he was an unexploded ordnance. You should be experiencing muscle weakness at minimum, dizziness, cognitive impairment. Your body should be in emergency conservation mode. It's only been like 6 hours since I woke up, James protested. Not 6 days. I've gone way longer than this without... Longer? Kael'thas's voice cracked completely. How are you even alive? James pinched the bridge of his nose. Okay, clearly we're having some kind of massive miscommunication here. Yes, I'm hungry. Yes, I should probably eat. But I'm not like dying. Humans can miss meals. It's not a big deal. My species experiences organ failure at hour 8. Vexia said softly, her scanner still trained on James like she expected him to collapse any second. Hour 7, we lose motor function. Hour 6, cognitive processes begin deteriorating. You're at hour 16 and you're fine. My people last perhaps 10 hours in optimal conditions, another junior officer added from the back. 12 in crisis situations with adrenaline support. 15 hours is our absolute maximum, Kael'thas added, his crest still flat with distress. And that's with military training. Civilians die much faster. James looked around at the assembled aliens, all of them watching him with expressions ranging from horror to scientific fascination. So you guys need to eat, what, every few hours or you die? Yes, Azila said flatly. As does every known sentient species in the Galactic Union. Nutritional intake every 6 to 8 hours minimum to maintain bodily functions. It's basic biology. Huh, James said. Then, because apparently he had a death wish for giving Zilak's heart failure, he added, I mean, sometimes I do intermittent fasting, you know, where you don't eat for like 16, 18 hours as part of a health thing. The silence that followed was deafening. You do this voluntarily? Azila's voice was barely a whisper. For health? Zilak's added, his translator struggling with the contradiction. Yeah, it's pretty common back on Earth. Some people do 24-hour fasts. There's this guy in my friend group who does 36 hours once a week. Says it helps with... 36 hours? Vexia swayed on her feet. Kael'thas caught her arm to steady her. Your species voluntarily enters starvation states? Azila was rapidly typing into her datapad, pulling up human biological files. This can't be right. According to these files, human metabolic function... Oh. She scrolled faster, her eyes widening. Oh no. Oh, this is... Commander, you need to see this. Zilak's moved to her side, reading over her shoulder. The biological profile laid it out in clinical detail. Humans could survive 3 to 5 weeks without food, provided they had water. Their bodies stored energy in adipose tissue, fat, specifically evolved for long periods between meals. They could function normally for days without nutrition. This is a survival trait from your evolution? Zilak asked, looking up at James with new understanding mixed with something like awe. I mean, yeah. James scratched the back of his neck. Earth had some pretty harsh periods, ice ages, droughts, that kind of thing. Our ancestors had to adapt to going long stretches without consistent food sources. So we evolved to store energy and function during famines, and why are you all looking at me like that? Kyle Thas was still holding out his ration bar, but now his hand was trembling. You're built to survive apocalypses. That's a little dramatic, James said. James, Azila said carefully. Protocol requires immediate medical intervention when any crew member misses 2 consecutive feeding cycles. You've now missed 3. I'm supposed to order emergency nutritional supplementation and bed rest. For skipping breakfast and being late to lunch? James laughed, then stopped when he saw none of the aliens were laughing with him. Oh, you're serious? 20 minutes later, Zilax's office had become an impromptu crisis center. The conference table was covered in data pads displaying human biological data, comparative metabolic charts, and, most prominently, a hand-drawn timeline that Kael'thas and Vexia had created, showing what they believed to be human survival stages. Stage 1, Kael'thas explained, pointer in hand like he was delivering a lecture on catastrophic system failures. Begins at hour 8. This is where most species experience the first signs of distress. For humans, according to James, this is just getting a bit hungry. James, who had been strongly encouraged to attend this meeting, raised his hand from where he sat surrounded by worried junior officers. Can I just say that this is the weirdest intervention I've ever... Stage 2, Vexia interrupted, her voice intense. Hour 16. Current status. Multiple species would be experiencing organ stress. Humans report feeling kinda hungry and continue operating heavy machinery. It was a power coupling, not exactly heavy. Stage 3. Kael'thas continued, undeterred. 24 hours. This is beyond the survival threshold for 6 of the 12 species represented on this station. Humans call this skipping meals, and sometimes do it because they're busy. He made air quotes with his claws, the gesture somehow both accusatory and deeply concerned. Azila was at another terminal, her fingers flying across the interface. I've been reviewing Earth medical literature. Commander, humans have voluntary fasting practices that span religions, cultures, and geographical locations, some lasting days. Days, Zilax repeated, like the word was foreign. Ramadan, Yom Kippur, Lent, various Buddhist practices. Azila read from her screen. Humans regularly engage in extended periods without food as part of spiritual and cultural traditions. And according to medical studies, healthy humans show no significant adverse effects from fasting periods up to 72 hours. 72 hours? One of the senior engineers whispered. That's 3 days. 3 days. Okay, look, James said, standing up. I can see you're all freaking out, but I promise you I'm fine. Watch. He proceeded to do 5 jumping jacks in the middle of the commander's office. The assembled aliens stared in horrified silence. See? Not dying. Totally functional. I could run a lap around the station if you wanted. Please don't, Zilax said weakly. My medical officer might have a breakdown. Too late, Azila muttered, still scrolling through human medical data with the expression of someone watching their entire worldview collapse. Did you know that human blood sugar can drop to levels that would cause immediate coma in my species, and humans just get a bit shaky and irritable? Hangry, James supplied helpfully. We call that hangry, hungry plus angry. You have a word for it, Vexia said, her voice hollow. You experience it so commonly that you've created linguistic shortcuts. I mean, yeah, it's pretty normal to. Nothing about this is normal. Kalthas burst out, his crest flaring in distress. My little sister nearly died last cycle when her school feeding was delayed by 4 hours. 4 hours. You're at 16 and doing exercise to prove you're healthy. The room fell silent. James's expression softened. Hey, I'm sorry about your sister. Is she okay? She recovered, Kalthas said quietly. But it was terrifying. And now you're telling me that for humans, going 16 hours without food is just an inconvenience? Pretty much, James said gently. Our bodies are built different. We store energy in fat cells, see? He patted his stomach. This is basically a backup fuel tank. When we don't eat, our bodies just switch to using stored energy. It's automatic. We evolved on a planet where food wasn't always available, so we adapted. Your entire species evolved to survive famine, Azila said, looking up from her terminal. Not just survive, thrive. According to these studies, periodic fasting actually improves some human health markers. Cognitive function, cellular repair, metabolic flexibility. Wait, Zilak said, a new concern dawning. If human feeding requirements are this different from standard protocols, what else have we gotten wrong? He pulled up the station emergency procedures. Medical intervention at 2 missed feeding cycles. Mandatory rest at 3. These protocols would have us treating humans as critical patients when they're just running late to lunch. We almost sedated him and force-fed him nutrients, Vexia said, her voice small. Because that's what you do when someone's starving. But he's not starving. He's just human. I could really go for a sandwich, though, James offered. If someone's still offering. Immediately, 6 different ration packs were thrust in his direction. Guys, James laughed. I only need 1. Take them all, Kalthas insisted. Please, for our peace of mind. Your species terrifies me, Azila said conversationally, still typing. I'm updating every medical protocol we have. Human nutritional requirements, human pain tolerances, human environmental needs. How have we been operating with humans on board without proper species-specific procedures? Probably because we don't like making a fuss, James said around a mouthful of ration bar. This is actually pretty good. What flavor is this? Braised kellgrass with protein supplementation, Vexia said automatically. And you're telling me you could go weeks without that and survive? I mean, I'd rather not test it, but theoretically, yeah. The aliens exchanged glances that ranged from awed to deeply unsettled. James finished the first ration bar while the entire room watched him like he was performing a miracle. Vexia's scanner remained trained on him, tracking every biological marker. Vitals still stable, she reported, sounding almost disappointed. No spike in metabolic activity, no desperate cellular uptake of nutrients. His body is just processing it normally. Because I was hungry, not starving, James said patiently. There's a difference. We're beginning to understand that, Zilak said, leaning back in his chair with the exhausted air of someone whose entire operational framework had just been dismantled. Azila, how long will it take to rewrite the medical protocols? For the human crew specifically, 3, maybe 4 days if I prioritize it. Azila was already creating new files, her fingers moving with purposeful intensity. I'll need to establish baseline parameters for actual human emergencies versus human normal. It's clear our current thresholds don't apply. What else should we know? Zilax asked James directly. What other human normal situations might we misinterpret as emergencies? James considered this, Well, humans can hold their breath for several minutes. We can survive pretty extreme temperature variations. Oh, and we can go about 3 days without water, though that's actually pretty uncomfortable. 3 days without water? Kaltas looked like he might faint. And apparently we heal faster than most species? I noticed medical always seems surprised when my cuts close up. Oh, and we can eat a bunch of stuff that's toxic to other species. Chocolate, caffeine, capsaicin. You regularly consume poisons for pleasure, Azila said flatly, typing faster. Of course you do. I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. James, Vexia interrupted quietly. Her crest lowered in what James had learned was embarrassment. About the ration bars, we may have overreacted. May have. James grinned. We genuinely believed you were dying. Kael'thas added, his voice soft. When Vexia told me you'd missed morning feeding, I remembered my sister, and I thought we were going to lose you. The humor drained from James's expression. He looked at the young officers, the cubs, who had mobilized an emergency response, gathered their own food, and rushed to save him from a crisis that, to them, had been absolutely real. Hey, James said gently. You know what? I'm keeping this one. He held up one of the untouched ration bars, as a reminder that I work with people who care enough to give up their own food to save a coworker. You don't have to, Vexia started. I want to, James said firmly. You guys responded to what you believed was an emergency. You did everything right. It's not your fault that humans are apparently biological weirdos who can just not eat for a while. Biological weirdos. Zilax repeated, a hint of amusement finally creeping into his voice. I'm putting that in the official report. Please don't. Too late. Azila, make sure the updated protocols include a section titled Human Biological Anomalies. Already done, sir, Azila said. I'm also creating a quick reference chart. Human normal versus human emergency. It should help prevent future incidents. Will it have pictures? James asked. Because I feel like this story is going to spread, and pictures would really help. Mock all you want, Kael'thas said, his crest slowly rising back to its normal position. We saved your life today. You thought you did, James corrected gently. And that matters. It really does. Thank you, all of you. Vexia's ears twitched in what James had learned to recognize as pleased embarrassment. We're supposed to look out for each other. That's what crew does. Even when the crew member in question is a biological impossibility who survives by breaking every known rule of metabolism, Azila asked dryly. Especially then, Kael'thas said firmly. Zilax stood, signaling the meeting's end. James, do me a favor. For the next few days, while we update protocols and train the staff on human biological norms, maybe try to eat on a regular schedule? Just until everyone's nerves settle. I can do that, James agreed. Though I should warn you, I'm definitely going to tell this story at the next human crew gathering. I expected nothing less. Zilax sighed. Dismissed. And someone please explain to the junior officers still gathered outside that the human is not, in fact, dying. As they filed out, James found himself flanked by Kael'thas and Vexia, both still watching him with residual concern. So, James said conversationally, want to see me drink a whole cup of coffee? Apparently that's also a poison to most species. Please don't, Vexia said, but she was almost smiling. My scanner can only take so much stress in one day. The station-wide memo went out the next morning. Updated protocol. Human nutritional requirements. Humans can safely skip multiple feeding cycles without medical intervention. This is normal human biology. Emergency protocols should only be initiated if a human reports distress or requests assistance. For questions, consult updated medical database section 7H. James found a printed copy taped to his workstation with a handwritten note. Please still try to eat regularly. The Cubs. He was grinning when Kael'thas and Vexia found him at Junction 12 the following week, both of them doing their new routine check-in. Midday feeding? Vexia asked. Scanner conspicuously absent, but concern still evident in her posture. Had a big lunch, James said, not looking up from his work. I'm good until dinner. There was a pause, a very slight tensing of shoulders. Then, okay, Kael'thas said, visibly restraining himself. That's fine. Humans can do that. We know this now, Vexia added, like she was reminding herself. We've read the literature. You guys are doing great, James said encouragingly. Commander Zilax has mandated Human Biology 101 training for all junior officers, Kael'thas said. First session is next week. Apparently, we'll be learning about your adrenaline response and why humans can temporarily ignore injuries that would incapacitate other species. Oh, that's a fun one, James said. Did you know humans have literally walked off broken bones? Please stop, Vexia said weakly. There was this guy on Earth who amputated his own arm with a pocket knife when it got trapped under a boulder. James. He laughed. Sorry. I'll save it for the training session. He paused, considering. You know, I've been reading about intermittent fasting benefits. Might try a 24-hour fast next month, see how I feel. The reaction was immediate. Both Cubs went rigid. 24 hours? Kael'thas's voice pitched up. That's a full day, Vexia said, her scanner suddenly in her hand, like it had materialized from thin air. Humans do it voluntarily, James reminded them. For health. We covered this. We know, Kael'thas said, crest flattening slightly. We know this, intellectually, but emotionally. It still sounds like you're planning to die, Vexia finished. James looked at their genuinely distressed expressions and felt something warm settle in his chest. A week ago, they'd been strangers working the same station. Now they were checking on him, worrying about him, learning his species' biology because they cared. Tell you what, James said. If I do try it, I'll let you monitor me. Full medical oversight. Deal? Deal, they said in unison, relief evident. Though, I'm still keeping your ration bar, James added. It's on my shelf, my reminder that I work with the best Cubs in the galaxy. Kael'thas's crest rose fully, colors brightening with pride. Vexia's ears twitched in that pleased way. Even if we panicked over nothing? Kael'thas asked. Especially because you panicked over nothing, James said. You thought I was dying and you tried to save me. That's not nothing. That's everything. He turned back to his work, missing breakfast forgotten, surrounded by friends who'd learned that humans were weird, wonderful, and surprisingly hard to kill. From his office 3 levels up, Zilax read the Cubs' routine check-in report and allowed himself a small smile. His station was adapting. His crew was learning. And somewhere in Junction 12, a human was teaching young officers that family came in all species, even the ones who could survive the impossible. The galaxy was going to have to get used to humanity. One skipped meal at a time,